All right, so we've had a day to digest, and the first thing we want to kick off this video before we get into, some new information and also, how we feel about things. Yesterday's video, high emotions. I definitely got kind of salty, and I think a lot of people did. And, I did say the Rules Committee decision was very dumb. And I think it's okay to have these kind of criticisms of what's going on. But obviously, personal attacks, anything like that, some of these people are getting legitimate threats from people that are just on the internet being like, I'm going to be ridiculous and I'm going to say awful things to people because I have a screen in front of me and I feel like, I'm impervious to any kind of actual damage and I'm not thinking about this other person's entire life that is being affected by this. This isn't something that we've particularly seen for many of our community members, but it's stuff that we have seen happening on Twitter and stuff like that. And so we just want to get that out of the way before we jump into this. Let's not attack people. That makes you look so dumb and so stupid and just makes you look awful. So
absolutely do not grab onto any amount of pissed off that we are or salty that we are about this decision and think that gives you license to go and harass somebody on the internet. I'm with Jake. That makes you look dumb. That makes you look stupid. We can disagree with people without attacking them. These are people. These are people. Please keep that in mind.
Yes.
Jake, I want to talk about the operational security piece of this first. The Commander Rules Committee, we have found out, has been discussing this entire thing for over a year. And the reason that they're giving that they didn't want to trickle this out or give any kind of warning ahead of time is that they didn't want anybody to have actionable intelligence on it. They didn't want it to leak out. And so they decided that all at once would be better. It was in the name of operational security, Jake.
One thing that's really interesting is that because it had been being discussed for over a year, if that's actually true, meaning that these cards were being discussed, then what that means is in November when LCI came out, that would have been, 10 months ago, right? November 17th.
Yeah.
So, or, whatever, 11 months, it would have been right during that overlap. So as everybody's getting hyped up about all of the Mana Crypt variants that are coming out as the Chase Card and Lost Caverns collector boxes, all along we knew, or they knew, that Mana Crypt was probably going to be on the chopping block in the future.
So learning from the Rules Committee themselves that this has been discussed for over a year and they thought it was an operational security thing to keep it tight, that was interesting reasoning to hear. Because a piece of information that we had not disclosed because we didn't think it was important. About a month ago, our rumor goblins, we've got rumor goblins all over the land, in every major forest and every major city.
Right.
Our rumor goblins came to us about a month ago and said, hey boss, I heard Mana Crypt is going to get banned in Commander. And at the time we went, well, we need to replace you because that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. That doesn't make any sense at all. If you ban Mana Crypt, you have to ban blah, 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 blah. And we just started going through so it doesn't make any sense. And so we completely disregarded
no real
it.
Context. There was nothing else that was any foundation to this. And it was really our source was just kind of
our goblin.
Nope, that's what it is. I've heard it's going to get banned. And it was also said that it would happen in late September.
Told us about the timing.
September.
Yep. At the time, it just sounded so ridiculous. We were like, bah, okay, cool, hilarious, little rumor goblin. Thank you. Go do a better job.
We'll definitely be taking, that advisement more seriously in the future. And if someone does say something, we're going to give it a little bit more. I guess what's the word?
Consideration.
Yeah, consideration. Because, it was very easy to dismiss it. We had definitely heard murmurings over the years of Dockside getting banned, just from how the community feels about it. But when we heard Crypt, it was just no, that came out in LCI. It got a huge, just a massive push there. It's a huge reprint target, that kind of thing.
One of their entire marketing pillars for that set was based around it. It just didn't make any sense. And The rumor goblin came back with that piece of information alone. There was no other context, like Jake said, of, oh, it's also going to go out with some fast mana. Fast mana is under review, blah, blah, blah.
The point is with this is that if we knew, then there's no way that a bunch of other people didn't know. And this did come to us about a month ago, which means that people that knew about this, obviously, you know, the RC knew about this, but it got out in some capacity, and people did know that Mana Crypt was going to be on the chopping block, which means that, you know, people could have taken advantage of that, got out of their copies ahead of time, and
I think some people did. I don't think in a major nefarious conspiratorial way. I don't think there was some major, oh, let's buy and sell and we're going to make a buku bucks, baby. That would be stupid. I don't think that's what happened. But I wouldn't blame somebody for moving on from their Mana Crypt if they found out that it was not going to be worth anything. If they were moving on from their Jeweled Lotus because they found out it's definitely going to $5. And look, we've received the note. We have heard you. You couldn't warn that this was coming because it would just cause the price to tank then. Or that just passes the buck on to the customer if you only tell the major stores. Y'all, when they just announced Nadu is banned, they had a whole section in that article about the One Ring is majorly being reviewed right now. We are heavily considering the One Ring's place in Modern. Go look up that chart. Here it is. Boom. Threw it on the screen. This is the chart for the One Ring.
Watch it.
Weird how that price isn't tanking. Weird how that price is just remaining. Announced as a possible ban, and the price didn't move because everybody received a piece of information and then they're completely allowed to act on it how they want to. But everyone has the same information. There's nobody that's got a secret that could be financially beneficial for them to act on. Why give anybody the choice? Why give one person the choice? Do give all of us the choice. Transparency is not going to ruin anything.
Yeah, I do kind of understand the rip the Band-Aid. If the goal was to ban these 3 cards over like the next 3 BNR announcements or whatever, I do think players would be very cranky each time one of them happened. They'd be like, oh, well, Dockside, we saw that coming, but then it's like, what? Jeweled Lotus, and then after that, what the fuck? Mana Crypt. They're just going to keep doing it.
It would get you in the mood that they're always just going to be constantly, like every 6 months, banning something. I could see that being frustrating.
Yeah, versus this, which, you know, God bless our moderators and folks that were over there in the RC Discord sharing some, you know, snippets and stuff and good info that does indicate, you know, without digging into all the specific language that was said, it does indicate that because these all came at once, that the goal is to not ban anything for a while.
Right.
I don't think after this,
that's what they're
the
saying
RC
over and
is
over
like
again.
itching to ban something. I'm sure right now that's the last thing on their mind.
At least with what they're saying.
Yes.
Another piece of news that has sort of come to light and sort of made me take a step back and go, wait, what's going on? Is that we had a prominent member of the Commander Advisory Group deny fully involvement or awareness, saying that he got blindsided just like the rest of us. And that makes me go, why do we have a Commander Advisory Group? Like, respectfully, for real, if your stated mission of the Commander Advisory Group is to have prominent community leaders in a role where they can keep you plugged in, Commander Rules Committee, to the community at large and advise on major decisions. This feels like the biggest decision y'all have ever made. And you didn't, according to these people, consult the CAG at all? Why do we have it? I don't get it. I don't understand why we have it if you're not going to, with your absolute biggest decision, say, hey, can we get some takes on this? It'd be great to get some takes on this because I wish
we're thinking about doing a really, really, really big thing.
Yes. Help us think this through.
There's only 5 of us and we really want to, you know, get a couple more brains on it.
Exactly.
To see,
and don't say, dude, don't say OPSEC either because we found out. We knew a month ahead. Don't say OPSEC.
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly there's some, you know, loose lips or whatever. But yeah, if I were making a huge thing and I were like, all right, we're about to do something that is going to piss off a ton of people. There's going to be some people that like it. And I'm not hating on casuals. I think like a lot of the people in our comments are coming from the perspective of like, I bought a pre-con and I want it to be viable if I sit down at the table.
Sure.
I want to be able to sit down with this pre-con that I bought
with strangers
and do nothing with it, do no upgrades to it, and I want it to just be good, and I want to maybe win some games with it. I think a lot of this comes down to communication. People not being able to communicate what kind of deck they're playing. That's something that I've kind of been thinking about mulling over, is people not really realizing, what high power cards are.
Yeah.
And just because anyway.
Yeah. So with the Commander Advisory Group, if you're going to have this entity that is present to advise you on things and not just be ceremonial, I don't know, like, why does it exist? Really, truly,
like, here's
respectfully,
the rules committee, but because this is closed, we have this other group that makes a couple people feel cool because they're like close to the group.
And we're not trying to shit on the people on it or on the rules committee at all. I really, honestly, truthfully don't understand why it exists if you're not going to run your biggest decision through it.
Mm-hmm. I imagine that's the day where you reach out to the advisors and you say, seriously, okay, here we go. We're about to ruffle some feathers on both ends. Advise us.
Watsia said that there are 50 million Magic the Gathering players worldwide. Let's say that 20 million of those, less than half, play what they have called their most popular format, Commander. If 1% of those 20 million people have Jeweled Lotus, that's 200,000 Lotuses. Let's just pretend for a second like they're all base non-foil copies. Every single one in existence is a non-foil base copy. 200,000 Lotuses at $90 a pop for a non-foil base copy. That's $18 million in Jeweled Lotuses. That's one card of 3 major monetary cards that were banned, and that's only talking base copies. And you heard how I tried to be like, I want to make this point. I'm going to chunk these numbers down as far as I possibly can. Let's talk about the potential of lost business, something I don't see anybody acknowledging. 50 million players worldwide. Let's say 5 million of those go to the pre-release every time. So that's 5%. Only 5% of the total Magic the Gathering players in the entire world go to their pre-release. Let's say 1% of those people aren't going to go to the pre-release now. That's 50,000 people. That's $40 a pre-release. That's $2 million in lost revenue from one pre-release.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make the point here that it's really easy to disregard and completely be dismissive of whales or people that treat the game like an investment. It's not supposed to be an investment. I get it. I get that you hate that part. Please believe all of your comments are read. We get that you hate that part. But you can't just poo-poo on $18 million in Lotuses, $2 million in lost revenue. If 1% of 5% don't go to the next one because this creams how they feel about Magic the Gathering squarely in the forehead, it's a little ridiculous.
And it has for a lot of people.
It has. We're not exaggerating or trying to conflate this more than it already is being conflated. We are seeing people that we trust their opinion saying, I think I'm done with this now. That we would have never assumed would have been reactive like that. But this is freaky. And it's really wide reaching and there's a lot of money involved.
Like, I hate FUD. For
Me
people
too.
that don't know that term, fear, uncertainty, doubt.
Big thing on the channel we avoid here.
Yeah, I hate FUD, but it hasn't made me want to collect at all.
No.
As a long-term collector, you can kind of see it. You can see that mystery booster in a box or whatever, which was like available, or a mystery booster 2 festival in a box was available for 20-something days. I don't know the exact day that it came out, but it would have been enough time for, them to realize, wow, we need to get rid. And this is kind of heading into that conspiracy territory. because 2 of the packs included in that, the marquee cards in those packs are Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt. And so when you see that, it's easy to kind of go, wow, it's honestly impeccable timing for them to use those packs to kind of push this product, only for those people to feel fleeced shortly after buying it, going, whoa, all right, hoodwinked there. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 10 times, I'm done at this point. You know?
Exactly.
And then we already glazed over this, but in November of 2017, Lost Caverns of Ixalan came out. Mana Crypt was a big card in that pack. And then August 4th, Commander Masters, August 4th of last year was Commander Masters, which used Jeweled Lotus and Textured Lotus. And then shortly before that, Mystery Booster 2, or not Mystery Booster, Double Masters 2022 in 2022 had Dockside as one of the premier cards in there. And LCI set boxes actually had Dockside on the list. So there was a lot of Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt pushing products over the past couple years, which I think a lot of people in our comments kind of failed to grasp, is that these cards were used to sell expensive things.
Marketing.
And then shortly after were banned.
Yes.
And so all of these people that may or may not have bought these products because of these cards now feel like, wow, I'm holding the bag on. Did buy singles, buy products. I asked on Twitter, I'm going to scroll it right now. I asked on Twitter for people to reply, show me a picture of what you lost. Show me a picture of your Crypts, your Docksides, everything you got. Just show it to me. And I mean, you can see, this is horrifying. This is horrible. On a personal level, it really sucks. We also wanted to just touch on a couple of other notes that we got in comments on the first one. WotC and the Rules Committee are different. We get that. We understand that. We were really like combining that reference in the first video. I'll admit that, but we acknowledge that they are 2 different things. We just maybe think that they shouldn't be at this point. I think that a lot of my thoughts, I'm still trying to really form what my solution would be with my thoughts and Jake's and our community and everybody's on Twitter. I think that this should head toward WotC needs control of this, because this is really irresponsible. Talking about just the money I just talked about. It's very
talk about
tough.
It wide. Yeah.
It's very tough. And this has been something that we've never seen the community so divided, and where we see both sides. I see both sides of it a lot.
We get that the bans are for casuals, right? That's
right.
We've been criticized for that.
The bans are for casual people. And I even consider myself casual. Like we said in the video yesterday, you know, we didn't have a big stake in this. I do want to say this, though, that Wizards of the Coast and the Rules Committee, I do think they need to be separate, because there is a huge conflict and interest in Wizards of the Coast having, knowing what cards are expensive and then making sure they don't get banned so that they can use them to push future sets. I do think that certain cards can be on the chopping block for the health of the format. I totally get that. The issue here is communication and how the message was done. I don't think there's any great way to do it. I really don't think there is, because it's like in your idea of doling them, or kind of rolling them out over years. Yeah. That's rough, because each time people are like, all right, time to get rid of my expensive cards. And people feel the same way now. So I think it is very much a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. But I do think it was kind of a leaky ship, as we kind of, addressed that rumor earlier. I think some people were able to, take advantage of it. Probably not on a grand scale or anything like that. But yeah, it's my question would be this. Where does it end? By the logic that they used, if they're like, okay, Soul Ring is the card that's allowed to add 2 mana, does Ancient Tomb get cut? Right. Does
they've said
Cradle?
No. They've said they're done. They've said this indicates what they want it to be, and that's what they're saying. But I having a conflict of interest with WotC controlling their own game, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm like I said, still trying to like take in everything and wrap my head around what my true thought of how this should run would be for suggesting. But they manage every other format. What are we talking about? Literally every other format is managed by them. This group of people, a few people, a handful of people who should not be harassed personally, this committee, conservative estimate right here, sitting here, 1 card, 1 pre-release, $20 million. Does the company want that? Do we want that? They can just wipe that. It just is a little bit shocking to me that anyone would want
I think so.
that to be the way that this is arranged anymore. You know, if it was more like, honestly, the best suggestion I can come up with is the rules committee. If we want to leave it how it is right now, this announcement should have been, hey, everybody, because of the nature of the way that we want to manage the format for the people that we think we are serving the most, we are no longer having a banned list. We are changing it to these cards suck and we suggest you don't play with them with people you don't know list.
I love that.
And
a
then
high power list,
we're
like
also,
a tier 1.
Exactly, dude. We're also adding Dockside, Mana Crypt, and the Soul Ring, whatever. You can add anything at that point because it doesn't affect the price of anything, because at that point they have stepped away from going, this is a ban list. This affects anything. They want to repeat it over and over in the Discord that you can do whatever you want. So then don't say that we can't with the word banned. Change the word. That's the best fix I can come up with right now.
Make it like a suck list. I did see one person with like a tier list of like
you can do a Canadian
tier
Highlander
0
style
power, tier 1 power.
Put points on cards if you want. I mean, it all gets really complicated fast, but
yeah, I saw a lot of people complaining about cards like Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, Smothering Tithe.
Exactly.
Just cards that are annoying to play around, but are also format staples. I think anybody that's playing blue is going to be running Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora just because the card advantage they represent is amazing. And like with Soul Ring, I would say that Rhystic Study is a foundational commander card. I don't think commander would be commander without Rhystic Study, right? But people also hate playing against it, but it's been here from like day one. Everybody saw that card and was like, oh, well, that card from Prophecy is finally worth playing.
It's like, it's like Mana Crypt is a super sports car with an engine that's unfair in a car race. But then Rhystic Study is a guy in a Jeep with a pistol shooting out everybody's tires and just making the race long and frustrating.
I saw that meme of Shaq trying to hide behind the tree, looking through it, and it's Rhystic Study looking at these bands.
Oh, dude, yeah. Ancient Tomb looking at these bands going, not moving. But yes, I mean, look, I don't know.
All the fast mana, it doesn't make me want to buy anything like Mox Diamond or LED or Cradle or Tomb or anything like that.
I got pressed for my opinion on it on Twitter. And, do I really think that people are like panic selling and burning their cards? And this is a legitimate outrage that's not going to just go away and we're going to think it's dumb. All I could say was, look, as a person who just made a major deal for $3,000 worth of cards for 10 dual lands, the thought has not crossed my mind of, that write-up on the website for Black Lotus's banning is basically just like, it's too expensive, y'all. And all they really have to do is draw a line from that to today and say, dual lands, there's so much, ubiquity of good mana fixing lands now. The cards are really expensive and it feels bad for people who don't have them. Effective immediately, the duels are banned. The thought has definitely crossed my mind.
Which would be shenanigans, right? Because
bro, the Mana Crypt one was shenanigans when it was floated to me.
Yeah,
that's where I'm
at. The
dual
lands, for example, it's like that land does nothing to break the game, right? Sure, it's going to save you 2 life.
Sure, but it's
in
expensive.
Certain situations.
It's prohibitive. Right. Nobody can get it.
And if it were banned, that would be the obvious reason it got banned. It got banned because it was expensive and players don't like expensive cards.
And look, I want to walk back to conspiratorial shit right now because I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen or it even could happen. I'm just saying I can understand why people are nervous, especially people with way, way bigger positions and collections than I have. Because at my little baby collection level, I'm having the thoughts. So the thoughts make sense to me. Look, we wanted to talk about it because we had some more news and some more perspective and we had slept on it. But unless there's new news at this point regarding this, we'll talk about it on stream probably, but there's not going to be another video most likely on this unless there's some major pressing reason to do it. Jake, I think my kind of final message to everybody might be a little surprising to some people, But I would say everybody needs to relax and needs to not panic right now, because I've changed my mind on one major thing from yesterday. Yesterday, you were like, oh, maybe this gets walked back. And I was super dismissive of you. I was like, bro, there's no way you can make a choice like this and then walk it back. That's absolutely impossible.
Oh, I said that to you.
Yes. After today and watching in real time community sentiment shift over the last like 6 to 10 hours, I am not completely on the side of this is unwalk backable at this point. I think that Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus, there's like a 0.0000001% that those could be walked back if they wanted to go that route.
I do think it would be, pretty wild for for them to walk it back. But if they do, I'd have to agree with you. Jeweled Lotus, a card that was only ever designed for Commander. I can already hear the commenters typing. It should have never been printed to begin with.
Maybe.
That very well may be true. It very well may be true, but it was printed. And what does this mean for cards like the One Ring? What does it mean for the future Infinity Gauntlet? What does it mean for Captain America's Shield? What does it mean for these cards that are going to need to be super pushed? Because that's what Wizards of the Coast, that's where the conflict of interest is, right? Hasbro wants Wizards of the Coast to put super pushed cards in sets to make sure that people buy those sets. That's what's going to happen. And so if the goal is like, okay, we're going to put these super pushed cards in sets, they're going to live for a couple years, then people are going to get sick of them. We're going to ban them. And then the meme is going to be, oh, well, all of the good cards end up getting banned. If a card is expensive and good, if it offers fast mana, if it's generic, like for example, if the Infinity Gauntlet comes out and it's just a colorless artifact versus being Wooburg, which is what it probably should be, right? For flavor. If it comes out a colorless artifact and is just generically awesome, like the One Ring, like probably not like the One Ring, but different, awesome. Does that mean that it's going to be on the chopping block and that, the One Ring eventually, we're going to have to cut that from Commander. And now that's going to just be a meme like, oh yeah, Post Malone has the one that matters. The rest of them are just cute little collectibles that you can't play in anything other than Cube. I don't know.
I think at this point there is the slightest possible crack of the door for this to be walked back. Another reason that I think that you should not panic right now is the CEDH realm still exists here. We know that there was a very public explosion of an effort to attempt to rally circle the wagons, so to speak, with CEDH and get their own RC going. There's never been a better second time to get it going, y'all. Does that effectively move the needle if CEDH becomes its own thing and says, hey, yeah, we're gonna stick with Dockside's banning maybe for a while and see, but we're definitely unbanning JLo and Mana Crypt immediately. Does that move the needle on those prices and make them viable again? Maybe. Not as probably explosive as walking back the whole thing would do to those two cards, but I think that there's also there's a door cracked open for the walk back and there's a window cracked open for CEDH to take their own format and run with it. But we've never seen this kind of community division with good takes on most sides. I'll say it that way. Understandable perspectives on different sides as well. The Secret Lair Walking Dead, I think, was a pretty, we'll see. We're only 2 days into this, but 1 full day right into this. And wow, feels like 2 days. And that one got way more toxic. The Secret Lair Walking Dead one did, but that was over the course of like 2 weeks. And so we'll see where this all falls out. But I'll tell you, the division here, at least everybody was kind of on team Secret Lair. Well, it felt like 90% of people were like, I fuck that Walking Dead shit, and 10% were like, I really don't mind it. It's fine.
Feels like marble, very small beans these days.
Oh my God, absolutely. And I've had people tell me that on Twitter too, that they think that this is going to be as small beans to us in X years as Walking Dead is to us now, kind of laughable almost, and potentially, but I see
I don't
20
agree
million
on
across
that.
one card and a potential pre-release loss of 5
Yeah.
of 1% of 5% of people. So, you know,
That gives me like damage control vibes, that it's just people trying to like, you know, be like, all right, everybody chill out, you know.
Yeah.
And I do, you know, I've heard people talk about Paradox era and Flash era and all these different eras of Commander, and this will be known as Dockside era. I think that that's like a good take. I do think that, you know, Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt were banned just for being fast mana. That was generic. That could go in anything. But, you know, Jeweled Lotus, it was a card that was designed for Commander. You could only be used to spend on your Commander. It's not like you could use that mana anywhere else. So I do think that that one's pretty silly, especially because it's such a iconic card that was at the helm of multiple sets.
Yeah. Absolutely. Y'all, that is our updated thoughts after reflecting for a bit. Catch you later. Be nice to everybody.
Yeah, be nice.
Please be nice.